after the research I've done over the last couple of days, I think I'm in a very happy, confident position. I'm not going to say that's going to go fantastic and it's going to be brilliant. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see what's going to happen in the future, but I think all the positions and the steps are all in place to give Indian Motorcycle its best chance of success. So there's been a lot of videos made over the last couple of days, and I've been doing my research to try and pin down exactly what's going on. And today I'm going to cover what I've found out about Carolwood, the company that's the private equity firm that's bought Indian Motorcycle, and also have a little look at Indian's sales figures over the last 5 years and look at the new CEO for Indian and share my thoughts as to where I can possibly see all this, or how I can see it all playing out. Now, first up, let's have a look at Carolwood's track record. Carolwood was founded in 2014 in Los Angeles, California by two principals, Andrew Schanfeld and Adam Rubin. Carolwood LP specialises in corporate divestitures, special situations and turnarounds, particularly where businesses are entangled or underperforming, but have strong brand potential. Their approach is hands-on and selective, favouring majority or full acquisitions over volume. Their key criteria is a revenue range of $50 to $500 million, North America or European companies, industries, consumer, industrial or media, that's the industries they target, and deal types are private sales, sponsor-backed sales, or time-critical opportunities. Their model blends traditional private equity with complex value creation, aiming to unlock long-term growth through operational improvements, cultural revitalisation, and strategic repositioning. They emphasise lean process optimization, product development and supply chain refinement, capital allocation discipline, and building engaged high-performance teams. Has Carolwood LP ever sold a private equity investment? As of now, there's no public record of Carolwood LP completing a full exit or divestiture from any of their private equity investments. Their portfolio is notably tight-lipped, and while they've made several acquisitions, including the recent Indian Motorcycle deal, no confirmed sales or exits have been disclosed. This doesn't necessarily mean they've never sold anything, but it does suggest a long-hold strategy focused on deep repositioning and value creation. Great. Possibly undisclosed exits or partial stake transfers that weren't publicised. See a preference for quiet ownership rather than high-volume flipping. So, that's all boding really well for this deal. I like what I'm hearing there. Even CB Insights, which tracks investor activity, lists 0 confirmed exits for Carolwood LP. So based on what I've found, they have the potential to turn around and flip, but they do appear to be in it for the long term and in rebuilding, making it stronger, unlocking growth potential. So I think that's fantastic. Their tactics make sense to me, like lean process optimization. So cutting the fat, making things more efficient, that's great. Product development and supply chain refinement. So obviously they're going to go through all their suppliers and start renegotiating and getting better deals and optimizing the supply chain. I think that's a smart thing to do, and that's where you can make some money quickly. Product development, that worries me because you can cut costs by not putting so much money into new R&D for new vehicles and things like that. So we'll have to see what that entails. Capital allocation discipline, so being really rigid and smart where you spend your money, that makes sense. and building engaged high-performance teams, that really rings bells for me. I think that's fantastic. That tells me that they're in it for the long term, the long haul, because why would you build an engaged high-performance team if that's not your end goal? So that's Carolwood. Now, my fears have been allayed a lot by the research I've done on those guys. Now let's look at Indian Motorcycle and how they've been tracking and why potentially Polaris might have sold. Polaris acquired Indian in 2011 and relaunched the brand in 2013. Since then, Indian has grown to become the number 2 American motorcycle brand in several segments, trailing only Harley-Davidson. Number 2. The brand has a global dealer network of 600 plus locations, a competitive cruiser lineup, and rising market share. And just on that, I had a look on yesterday on the share prices, and Harley was selling at around $30 a share, and Polaris was around $70 a share. And I think a lot of that is due to Harley's carrying a lot of debt. Like Harley has 3.5 times more debt than what Polaris does. And that's obviously due to they have their financing for bikes and things, and a lot of that will be that aspect of it. But the share price doesn't lie. It's consistently outperformed Harley in terms of share price for quite a while, and I've been watching it for a little while. And on the back of this announcement for the deal, the Polaris share price jumped 12%. So that's quite interesting. And that doesn't mean that the market's saying that they think this is a fantastic thing that Indian's going to be split off on its own. What it's saying is they think it's a good thing that Polaris has sold Indian. So Polaris is selling a majority stake in Indian to Carolwood LP, which means they still will retain a stake in it. This is the interesting thing I found out, that the sale is expected to add $50 million a year to Polaris's annual earnings and $1 per share for investors. So that's why it jumped 12%, because they're selling off Indian, but they stand to earn $50 million a year. That's per year, not just a once-off, per year from the deal. Polaris will retain a minority equity position, allowing Indian to operate independently while still benefiting from Polaris's legacy infrastructure. So obviously, Carolwood are going to be using Polaris's infrastructure to keep producing Indian motorcycles, hence the $50 million a year return. Here's a clear breakdown of Polaris Incorporated's annual revenue for the past few years, showing how 2024 compares to prior performance. So in 2020, Polaris had a $7 billion revenue, which was up 3.6% over the previous year. 2021, they were up 16.7% over the previous year. 2022, up 4.8%. 2023, up 4%. 2024, down 19.7%. A 20% drop in revenue in 2024. That could be part of the reason why Polaris are selling Indian. Maybe they see the writing on the wall in terms of, I don't think it's in terms of Indian motorcycles, but it's in terms of the big V-twin cruiser segment going forward over the next few years. Maybe they see that's going to contract and not be as healthy as it has been in prior years. So key takeaways from that are, 2024 marked a sharp decline in revenue, down nearly 20% from 2023. The prior 3 years, 2021 to 2023, showed steady growth, peaking in 2023. The 2024 drop aligns with Polaris's strategic divestiture of Indian motorcycle and broader market headwinds. So, obviously their prediction for them is it's going to be tougher going forward for this segment. So that means for both Indian and Harley over the next few years. All right, we've looked at Carolwood, we've looked at Indian. Now let's look at Indian Motorcycle's new CEO, Mike Kennedy. Now, I'm pretty excited by this, having Indian Motorcycle as its own brand, just standing alone from Polaris. It's just it won't be, eventually won't have anything to do with Polaris. It's just going to be Indian motorcycle, and I think that's going to be fantastic. Because, you know, when people say that you're riding a Polaris, it's true, you're riding a vehicle made by Polaris. To me, that's not a negative, because Polaris make a fantastic vehicle. So that doesn't worry me at all. But it would be nice just to have, it's an Indian motorcycle and that's it. And this is where the new CEO, Mike Kennedy, who I've since learned all about, didn't know about this man before when I made my video the other day, 2 days ago, but so much has come to light and I've found out so much information that, yeah, I've got to share this with you, because I think having this guy in charge of Indian is going to be a pretty cool thing, actually. Now, looking at Mike Kennedy's CV, currently he's a Carolwood LP operating partner. And again, in the bio on what that entails, it just says here, Carolwood LP is a private equity firm focused on corporate divestitures that are highly entangled, special situations and turnarounds, again, that turnaround, that offer strong brands for long-term growth and value creation opportunities. So, you know, again, they're in this to make money. Now, prior to Carolwood, I find it hard to say Carolwood, it just doesn't roll off the tongue, but anyway, Mike Kennedy was CEO of Rumble On. Now, I had no idea what Rumble or who Rumble On was, and I was thinking, is that part of Rumble? You know, that media organisation. But in the US, you guys will know who this is, but you know, for people outside the US, Rumble On operates through two operating segments: the Ride Now Power Sports Dealership Group and Wholesale Express LLC. Ride Now Power Sports is the largest power sports retail group in the United States, offering over 500 power sports franchises representing 52 different brands of products. Ride Now Power Sports sells a wide selection of new and pre-owned products, including parts, apparel, accessories, finance and insurance products and services, and aftermarket products. So power sports is a term that we don't typically use here in Australia, but basically that's motorcycles, jet skis, you know, ski-doos, whatever you call them, that sort of stuff. That's the power sports segment. Now, Mike Kennedy was CEO of Rumble On, and therefore Ride Now Power Sports. This is fantastic, because this guy's had experience with working directly with dealers selling motorcycles. That's going to be invaluable for Indian going forward, to have that experience of someone who's worked in that field and that industry. So that's a big tick. Prior to Rumble On, Mike Kennedy was president and CEO of Vance & Hines. And that was from 2019 to 2023, so 4 years. For those of you who don't know, but I'm sure most of you do, Vance & Hines is an American manufacturer of aftermarket motorcycle performance parts and has their headquarters and factory in Santa Fe Springs, California, and racing operations in Brownsburg, Indiana. Founded in 1979, Vance & Hines is the leading aftermarket exhaust brand in the V-twin motorcycle segment. President and CEO of Vance & Hines. So we've got a guy that's fully au fait with dealing with dealers in the motorcycle industry. We've got a guy who was president and CEO of Vance & Hines aftermarket performance parts. Fantastic. And then we get to the real deal maker. Mike Kennedy was vice president and managing director for the Americas of Harley-Davidson Motor Company. Now, it turns out that Mike Kennedy has been with Harley for many years. Like, I reckon it looks like around about 20 years, holding different positions. His last position being vice president and managing director for the Americas. That was for 2 years. Prior to that, he was vice president and managing director for North America for 6 years, and senior director field operations and strategy for Harley as well. Prior to that, Mike Kennedy was the Vice President of Sales for BRP. Now, BRP is Bombardier Recreational Products. BRP's core brands are Can-Am, Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo, Rotax engines for motorcycles, karts, aircraft, and Alumacraft and Manitou boats. So look at the experience this guy's got. And this is interesting too. Like BRP was founded in 1942 before it was spun off on its own in 2003. In 2006, 3 years later, Mike Kennedy joins as Vice President of Sales. So he's got that experience of working with companies that have been spun off from a major division. And then having experience with Can-Am and all those sorts of products as well. It's just, oh, what a wealth of experience this guy has. Now, prior to that, Mike Kennedy was Managing Director for Harley-Davidson Motor Company in the United Kingdom. So for all you guys in the UK, there's a connection there with Mike Kennedy that stems back to April 2004 to August 2006 for 2 years. And then prior to being Managing Director for UK, still for Harley, Mike Kennedy was Director of Marketing, Parts, Accessories and Custom Vehicle Operations for Harley from 1998 to 2004. And prior to that, Sales, Product Marketing and Dealer Development positions. So, you know, Carolwood, I'm going to look on the positive side. I'm going to say that's a tick for them. I think that from what I'm seeing, that they're in it for the long haul, to turn, Indian into something bigger than what it is today, which is brilliant. CEO, wow, he gets ticks across the board. I couldn't think of a better person to be CEO of Indian Motorcycle, the new Indian Motorcycle. And if I was a Harley guy, I'd think I'd be envious of who they've chosen to be CEO. This is fantastic. Now, to finish up, I'm just going to read here what Mike Kennedy wrote about his appointment to the position just a couple of days ago on LinkedIn. So Mike Kennedy says, really big and exciting news announced today from Polaris Inc. as they announced their decision to separate Indian Motorcycle into a standalone company. I'm grateful and humbled by Carolwood LP having the confidence in me for leading Indian Motorcycle Company into the future. What Polaris and the Indian Motorcycle team has achieved by reigniting it as a force to be reckoned with in the global motorcycle industry is nothing short of amazing. That's true. A strong brand, 600 plus dealers across the globe, a competitive product line, growing market share, and frankly, the talent that I have met thus far is very impressive. My colleagues and I at Carolwood are now the beneficiaries of this great work, immediately armed with a highly engaged staff that is passionate about the brand and its business, competitive product portfolio, and a global dealer network. I am grateful and beyond excited to build on Indian Motorcycle's current momentum and throttle it into its next chapter. Team Indian Motorcycle Company, get ready to tighten your chin strap and shift this ride into the next gear. All right, I think I'm going to leave it at that. My position a couple of days ago was, complete uncertainty. After the research I've done over the last couple of days, I think I'm in a very happy, confident position. I'm not going to say that's going to go fantastic and it's going to be brilliant. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see what's going to happen in the future, but I think all the positions and the steps are all in place to give Indian Motorcycle its best chance of success and to possibly grow into something pretty special. All right. I think that's all I need to say on this video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, ride on and bye for now.